Hi, my name is Tom and welcome to my channel, Integral Views. So we had the very sad the very sad killing of Charlie Kirk yesterday, and I wanted to just share my views on the topic on Charlie. So first of all, when it happened, I was very seriously impacted, psychologically, emotionally, a huge amount of shock, sadness, anger, and it's very, very rare that I'll experience that kind of thing for anyone, who I don't know personally, a celebrity basically, or commentator that has such an event happen to them when they die, right? I don't typically have that strong of a reaction. And the thing is that, it deepened over time as we learned more and we unfortunately saw more. It just got worse, basically. And so, just a lot of sadness, right? And anger. Just an absolutely barbaric, just a very wrong thing to have done, obviously, but deeply, deeply wrong to see that happen. And I want to give the context as to, because there's multiple levels. So for me, first of all, I don't agree with everything Charlie says. I disagree with him on some fairly fundamental topics, but that's not really the point. I can see that he's a very decent man, and I can see that he really cares, and that he's doing the things. He's basically living along the very kind of virtues that he expounds. Exactly what he says seems to be the way that he was living his life, and there's a real deep kind of integrity in that, and you can just feel it just from the way that he talks and the way he interacts. You get the sense that he is who he says he is, and that's that. So and he was always incredibly respectful. So one of the things that stands out about Charlie was that he was always very respectful of people that he spoke to. There were conversations across sometimes very vast political divides that were approached with, kind of with respect, basically. And so to see the death of someone like that was really important for so many people, it's an incredibly sad, a deeply hurtful thing for a lot of people, and so he has for 12 years been getting people together and having open debate, which is supposed to be the foundational cornerstone of Western civilization. It is debate and then decency. So even in that debate, you have a certain decency in the way that you interact. And it's exactly that which is sorely lacking in political discourse to a seemingly never-endingly greater extent, that people seem almost incapable of talking to each other because their frames of reference are so vastly different. They're in echo chambers, on Blue Sky, or on X, or wherever, even outside of those platforms. They're often in echo chambers, and they're not crossing the boundary. They're not crossing, with good intent, with positive intent, with an open mind to have a conversation and see if we can gain something out of it as a society. And that is exactly what we needed. And he was doing it with young people across the United States, And you don't have to agree with all of his political views. I agree with maybe 50%. Some core things I disagree with. Some things I disagree with strongly. Some things I agree with strongly, right? And the point is, that is besides the point, really. Because the deeper point here is that what we're losing, and what this showed, what hit hard, it's not just the personal level of, I've watched his videos for 10 years or however long, don't even know how long it is. I feel like I know him. I can tell he's a decent person. I've seen him be mischaracterized from outside. I've seen these people calling him a Nazi and a fascist and a racist, and then I go and watch his videos and I don't see any of that. I don't, it's a complete mischaracterization, and then those things get said about him in these groups where there's no response, and he's doing the opposite. He's encouraging response, he's inviting response, and I'm sorry, I'm getting present and past tense mixed up. The thing is, I have to talk about him in the past tense, which still feels really weird because it's shocking. It doesn't feel like it's real, right? And this and many other reactions might seem like they're overblown or kind of over dramatic, but they're really not, right? Because I think to people because a lot of people have kind of grown up, not me, of course, I'm well beyond that, yeah, but a lot of people have. They found him, when they were teenagers, and they've been watching him for years, and he's got them to think about things more and to listen to the other side more and to form, to go through a critical thinking process. Even if you end up with a different perspective, it's that process of communicating openly that's so valuable. And he created a movement out of that. He was doing that across the board, going from one event to another, getting people to talk, listen to them. That's remarkable. And I'm convinced that if this hadn't happened now and at any point in the next few years, he would have become a president of the United States. I'm sure of it. And you think about his story. He started, didn't get a university degree, didn't go to college, went straight out, right? And then he built this movement. He built this movement from the ground up, and he was instrumental in Trump's election, in Trump becoming president. He was instrumental in that. I mean, critically important. If it wasn't for him, I'm pretty sure Donald Trump wouldn't be president. That's how significant this is. And so there are people maybe outside of the United States that aren't aware of him, right? And if they are aware of him, they just get it from a source that is, like The Guardian or the Wall Street Journal or whatever. And then it's a biased take, right? They don't listen to him. They don't know what he's saying. And I think what this really points toward is that there is a huge amount of harm that's done in amplifying and mischaracterizing based on what you think is the virtuous thing to do. So call him, people call him a racist because he doesn't agree with open border policies, right? And because he calls out double standards in diversity, equity and inclusion hiring, which is just a rational thing to do because it's real, right? And then he gets, just these slurs get thrown, and then they don't get challenged. And people go on Blue Sky, right? And then they just get in this echo chamber. And by the way, Blue Sky, right? What I've seen posted on there, people celebrating, laughing, making jokes about him. He was shot in the neck in front of his family. He's a family man. He's a good man, a well-meaning man. You might not agree with him, okay? But have some decency and look inside yourself. Seriously, this is an opportunity to look in the mirror. Who are you? Is that what you want to be? Is that what you really support? Is that how you really want to act? Right? On Blue Sky, they ban people who disagree with a very narrow rhetoric, whilst apparently being tolerant and inclusive, right? It means they tolerate their narrative. They're inclusive of people who agree with them. Everybody else, you're out. And not only are you out, but you're demonized. And they'll apparently allow people celebrating the death of somebody, and a huge amount of people saying who's next and coming up with lists of who to kill next in Blue Sky. I've seen it. I won't share it. I've seen a huge amount of it. This outpouring of hatred from this group that is supposedly the moral group, right? The left. You get killings, and you get these lists of who's next, and laughing when people are like, he was a dad with 2 young children, and he was a good man. I've been watching him for years. So it just made it that much worse, that you knew that there were millions of people probably doing that. Maybe some of them didn't know who he was and thought it was just a throwaway thing. Well, now's your chance. Go and learn, go and watch his videos, and think about how your mind could have got into that state where you were so misguided from the reality. Go watch his videos. Do the work, and you'll find what I found, which is that he was always respectful. He encouraged debate. He was a good person, right? He was platforming people with a different opinion to him completely. But you don't agree with some of the things he said. Some of his opinions you don't agree with. That's where I'm at. And it just leaves me thinking, the real danger is that the end of debate? And what comes after when debate fails? When someone like him makes such an effort, creates a movement to bring people together, and then he's shot, and millions of people see it, when his family are there with him, and then people laugh about it online. And is that what debate gets you? And if that's what debate gets you, then what's next? And so everybody who throw around these mischaracterizations of Charlie, not only Charlie, others, it's time to think, right? It's time to really think. It's time to do what Charlie would do. What Charlie would do is he'd engage. He'd try to understand the other perspective, right? That's what he always did. And too much these days, people will just throw on a slur on someone. Go, you're this, and then I won't engage with you and I won't listen to you because you're just evil, bad person, and that's it. When you listen to people, right? We need to listen to each other more. And that means hearing things that you might not agree with, and engaging with them with a sense of decency. This is the lesson that we can learn from Charlie. But I fear that for some, that won't be what they take from this. That's the real danger. So I just want to say that I hope that we do what Charlie would have done. For anybody thinking and feeling anger, I felt huge anger, and I still do. I think it's a huge loss on many levels. But for anybody feeling that way, what I was saying to myself is, what would Charlie do, basically? What is it we can really learn from his legacy, right? And what he did and how he lived. How do we take that to the next level? Well, we embody that, right? Violent reactions aren't the answer. Doesn't mean that we're just passive and we just accept it, But we can't stoop to those levels. We have to have standards and move forward. So anyway, I wanted to get that rant out of myself. That's my take, and yeah, I've just been really sad, basically, about the whole thing. It really is a huge loss for anybody who doesn't know Charlie. Just to go and watch his videos with an open mind, like I have. What I do is I have loads of people on the left, loads of people on the right, and I'll watch both consistently on purpose. And a lot of it I won't agree with, and it'll make me feel uncomfortable, but that's good. Right? It makes you learn, think, progress. If we just get in a narrow way of thinking, and then we shut everything else out and we just insult it, and we say, no, you're not welcome, you're cancelled, shut up. Like, that is what leads to these kind of events on both sides, right? On the far right, on the far left. By the way, Charlie was not far right. He was not alt-right. He was not far right. That's not what he was. He was a moderate conservative. And by the way, he was hated by the actual alt-right. Okay, I'm going to leave it there, because I could go on and on. But yeah, for everybody who's feeling as I've been feeling, I wish you all the best. For everybody who's been celebrating, or for whom this doesn't resonate, go watch his videos and maybe take a look in the mirror if you're in the, if you've been celebrating. So I hope we can all learn from this. Thanks for watching.